Let me ask you something personal. When you were growing up, did anyone sit you down and teach you how money actually works? Not just save your money or don't spend what you don't have, but the real system, the framework behind why some people build wealth and others, no matter how hard they work, stay exactly where they are. I'm guessing the answer is no. And that's not your fault, because the truth is, finance was never designed to be taught to everyone. It was designed to be practiced by the few who understood it. But today, that changes. In the next few minutes, I am going to walk you through the entire foundation of finance, from the moment money was invented, to how banks created out of thin air, to the difference between the asset that makes you rich and the liability that keeps you broke. To compound interest, the force that Albert Einstein reportedly called the eighth wonder of the world. We're going to cover income, budgeting, debt, investing, risk, the market, and the one mindset shift that separates people who build wealth from people who just earn money. And here's my promise to you. By the time this video ends, you will never look at money the same way again. Stay with me, because it only gets deeper from here. Here's something that should make you angry. Most of us spent 12 to 17 years in school. We learned the periodic table. We learned how to calculate the circumference of a circle. We read Shakespeare. But nobody, not one teacher, not one textbook, sat us down and said, here is how a bank account actually makes money. Here is what a stock is and why it exists. Here is why your salary alone will never make you wealthy. Why? Because the school system was not designed to produce investors. It was designed to produce workers, stable, employable, taxable workers. And workers are great. The world needs workers, but workers who don't understand money, they remain workers forever. Their labor makes other people rich. They trade time for money their entire lives and wonder why at 60, they still don't feel financially free. So let me ask you, and I want you to be honest with yourself, how many of these do you actually understand right now? What is your net worth? What is the difference between an asset and a liability? If you lost your job tomorrow, how many months could you survive? If those questions made you uncomfortable, good. That discomfort is the beginning of financial education. Here's the first big idea I need you to understand, and it's going to shake something inside you. Money is not real. I don't mean money doesn't matter. I mean money in its current form is a shared agreement. It is a collective story we all believe in. The paper in your pocket is not valuable because of what it's made of. It's valuable because everyone agrees that it is. Before money existed, humans used barter. If you had a cow and I had wheat, we'd trade. But what if I didn't need wheat? The system broke down. So we invented a universal token. Gold, then paper backed by gold, then paper backed by the promise of a government. That's what your money is today, a promise. And here's the dangerous part. That promise loses value every single year. It's called inflation, and it means that the money sitting in your wallet today will buy you less next year than it buys you today. The money isn't disappearing, but its purchasing power is quietly evaporating. This is why keeping all of your money in a bank savings account is not being safe. It's slowly losing a race you don't even know you're running. There are really only two camps of people in the world of finance. Camp 1, people who work for money. Camp 2, people who make money work for them. Camp 1 wakes up at 7 a.m., sells their time, gets a salary, spends it, and repeats. When they stop working, the money stops. Camp 2 builds or buys things that generate income even while they sleep. Investments, businesses, assets. When they stop actively working, the money doesn't stop. The goal of this video is to give you the map to move from Camp 1 to Camp 2. And it starts with understanding the single most important concept in all of personal finance. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. One of the most important finance books ever written contains one sentence that changed the financial trajectory of millions. Rich people acquire assets. Poor people acquire liabilities while thinking they're assets. So what's the difference? An asset is anything that puts money into your pocket. A rental property that generates rent. A stock that pays dividends. A business that runs without you. Intellectual property that earns royalties. An asset makes you richer even when you're asleep. A liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. A car loan, a mortgage on your personal home, credit card debt, a lifestyle that costs more than it produces. Now here's here's the shocking part. The things most people think are assets are actually liabilities. Your car, unless it earns you money, it's a liability. It loses value the moment you drive it off the lot. It costs insurance, fuel, maintenance. Your personal home? Controversial, but unless it generates income, it's a liability. It costs you mortgage payments, property taxes, repairs. You can't eat it. It doesn't pay your bills. The wealthy understand this distinction deeply. They spend their lives accumulating assets. They let their assets pay for their luxuries. Their money works, so they don't have to work forever.
Let's talk about income, because this is where most people have been severely undereducated. There are 3 types of income, and most people only ever have one. Type 1. Earned income. This is your salary, your wages, the money you get paid to do a job. It's the most common and the most heavily taxed. It stops the moment you stop working. Type 2. Portfolio income. This is money earned from investments, profits from selling stocks or real estate at a higher price than you bought them. Capital gains, they're called. It's taxed differently, often lower than earned income. Type 3. Passive income. The holy grail. Money that flows to you with minimal ongoing effort. Rental income, royalties, dividends from shares, revenue from a digital product you created once and sell forever. This is the income type that builds freedom. The wealthiest individuals in the world have all 3. The average person has only one, and they trade every hour of their life for it. Your financial goal, at whatever pace you can manage, should be to add at least one more income type to your life every single year. Before you can build wealth, you need to control flow, and that's what budgeting is. Not restriction, not punishment, flow management. There's a framework called the 50-30-20 rule. 50% of your take-home income goes to needs, rent, food, utilities, transportation, the non-negotiables. 30% goes to wants, entertainment, dining, subscriptions, the things that make life enjoyable. 20% goes to savings and investment. This is the number most people ignore and why they never build anything. Now, is this rule perfect for everyone? No. Adjust it to your reality. The principle is the point. Pay yourself first. Save and invest before you spend on wants. The moment your savings become automatic, not optional, automatic, you stop making excuses and start building. Debt. This word has a reputation problem. People hear debt and they think danger, shame, financial failure. But here's the truth. Debt is a tool, and like any tool, what matters is how you use it. There are 2 kinds of debt. Good debt is borrowed money that generates more value than it costs, a business loan that generates profit, a mortgage on a property that rents for more than the repayment, a student loan that unlocks a high-income career. Good debt creates leverage. Bad debt is borrowed money spent on things that lose value or generate nothing, a credit card used for holidays, a personal loan for a wedding, a buy now, pay later arrangement for a television. Bad debt slowly drowns you. Governments use debt to build infrastructure. Corporations use debt to expand. The wealthy use debt to acquire more assets. The distinction isn't the borrowing, it's the purpose. Rule of thumb: if the borrowed money can generate a return greater than its interest rate, consider it. If it can't, avoid it like the plague. I want to show you something that will completely reframe how you see time. Imagine you invest 100,000 naira, dollars, pounds, any currency, at an annual return of 10%. In year 1, you earn 10,000. Simple enough, but here's where it gets magical. In year 2, you don't earn interest just on your original 100,000. You earn interest on 110,000 because your earnings from year 1 are now working for you too. Year 3, you earn on 121,000. Year 10, you've got over 259,000 without adding a single extra penny. This is compound interest, your money making money on its money. Now flip it. Compound interest works against you on debt. That credit card with a 25% annual interest rate, if you carry a balance and only make minimum payments, the debt doesn't shrink, it grows. It compounds against you the same way it would compound for you if it were an investment. This is why credit card companies are not worried when you carry a balance. They have compound interest working for them and against you. The lesson? Start investing
investing early, even small amounts. The most powerful variable in the compound interest equation is not the amount you invest, it's time. Let's talk about the market, because this is where most people either feel intimidated or get dangerously overconfident. The stock market is simply a marketplace where you can buy tiny ownership shares of companies. When you buy a share of Apple, Dangote, or Tesla, you own a small piece of that business. If the business grows, your share grows in value. If they distribute profits, you receive dividends. Now, the market goes up and down every day, every week. This volatility terrifies beginners. They see their portfolio drop 15% and panic sell. They lock in their losses and walk away. But here's what history has shown consistently. Over the long term, 10, 20, 30 years, the broad market trends upward. Not every stock, not every year, but the game over time goes up. This is why index funds, funds that track the entire market like the S&P 500, are one of the most recommended vehicles for beginners. You don't need to pick winners, you buy the whole game. 2 rules. Never invest money you might need in the next 3 to 5 years, and never check your portfolio every day. Emotional decisions in the market almost always lose.
Everything we've covered can be compressed into one formula. Write this down. Wealth equals assets minus liabilities. That's it. Your net worth, the real measure of your financial health, is not your salary. It's not your job title. It's not the car you drive. It's the difference between what you own and what you owe. A person earning $500,000 a month but spending $490,000 and holding no assets is financially fragile. One job loss and they collapse. A person earning $150,000 a month, spending $90,000, investing $30,000 consistently, and accumulating assets is building something that cannot easily be taken from them. Wealth is not income. Wealth is what remains. The moment you shift from asking, how do I earn more, to how do I accumulate more, you begin to think like someone who will eventually be wealthy. Here's something the finance textbooks almost never teach you. Managing money is not primarily a math problem. It's a psychology problem. Morgan Housel wrote that financial success has less to do with how smart you are and more to do with how you behave. We buy things we don't need to impress people we don't like with money we don't have. Why? Because money is tangled up with identity, with status, with how we believe others perceive us. The person who buys an expensive car to look successful is trading their future security for present perception. The person who lives below their means and quietly builds looks ordinary today and financially free tomorrow. Wealth is the money you don't spend. It's invisible. You cannot see it in a driveway or on someone's wrist. That's why we underestimate it in others and why we need to stop measuring our own success by visible things. Your relationship with money will determine your financial future more than any investment strategy I can teach you. I want to leave you with an image, a mental picture I want you to carry. Imagine a long corridor, and at the end of that corridor, there are 3 doors. Door 1 is labeled survival. Behind it, a life where every month is a scramble. Bills chase income. Nothing is saved. The future is always uncertain. Most people never leave this door because nobody taught them there were other options. Door 2 is labeled stability. Behind it, a life where needs are met. There's a budget. There's a modest emergency fund, some investment. Not rich, but not drowning. This is where financial education takes most people, and it's a genuinely good life. Door 3 is labeled freedom. Behind it, time. Not retirement in old age. Time now. The ability to say no to things you hate and yes to things you love, because money is working harder than you are. Here's the truth. All 3 doors are available to almost everyone watching this video. The difference between who walks through door 1 and who walks through door 3 is not intelligence. It's not luck. It's not family money. It's knowledge applied consistently over time. And today, you just got the knowledge. We covered a lot today, and I'm proud of you for staying, because that already says something about you. Most people click away in the first 60 seconds. You stayed for 30 minutes. That discipline, that curiosity, that's already the foundation of someone who's serious about their financial future. Let me give you the 5 things I want you to remember. 1. Money is a tool, not a measure of your worth. Learn to use it, not worship it. 2. Build assets. Buy things that make you money. Avoid liabilities disguised as status. 3. Multiple income streams are not a luxury, they are insurance. Start building a second one, however small, as soon as you can. 4. Start investing even 1% of what you earn immediately. The most powerful variable is not the amount, it's the time you give it. 5. Your biggest financial battles will be psychological, not mathematical. Know yourself, manage your behavior, guard your identity.
I started this video by asking if anyone ever sat you down and taught you how money really works. Today, I did. And here's what I want you to do right now. Not tomorrow, right now. Write down one thing, just one, that you're going to change about how you handle money this week. Not this year, this week. A small step. Cancel one subscription. Open an investment account. Calculate your net worth for the first time. One step. That's all it takes to begin. If this video helped you see money differently, if even one thing shifted inside you, share it with someone who needs it. A sibling, a friend, a parent who's still standing in front of door 1 and doesn't know there are other doors. Financial education shouldn't be a privilege, and you now have the power to pass it on. Before you go, tell me in the comments which door are you currently standing in front of? Door 1, 2, or 3. I read every single one, and your answer will help me teach you better in every video I make. I'll see you in the next one, and when I do, we go deeper.